Your co-host, Javier Vicuna.
On today's show, we've partnered with Docklands Documentary Film Festival, and it's happening this weekend from May 2nd to May 5th at the Smith Raphael Film Center to support the two films From Here, From There, De Aquí, De Allá, and Ancient of Happiness. From Here, From There is playing tonight. So if you haven't, click the link in our social media bios to buy tickets. It's happening.
We also have voucher codes.
Oh, yeah.
If you are interested in watching one of these movies and maybe don't have the funds to access it, you can send us a DM on Tay Radio Marin, and from there we can send you guys a voucher code, so you don't have to pay.
And it's an inspiring journey of Bay Area attorney Luis Cortez Ramiro as he risks everything to challenge ICE and defend the American dream for hundreds and thousands of undocumented residents, highlighting the urgent need for compassionate immigrant reform. So you can also get your tickets at docklands.com. But as Javier mentioned, reach out to us if you want to see the film. With that, we're really excited. We are joined by a film director, Luca Capponi, who is the director of the short documentary Small Steps, Big Future. I'm so excited, but I'm going to give you the space to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Luca. I was born and raised in Italy. My mom is from Ecuador. And I moved here in Berkeley 3 years ago with my wife. And here I am with my short, and I'm very excited to be here.
Well, thank you for being with us today, Luca. We're really excited to talk about your film. I mean, Santi and I had the chance to watch it beforehand, which also reminds me that, so Luca is part of the documentary shorts education screening tonight, which is also here at the Multicultural Center of Marin, and that's going on from 7 to 8:30, and it's a free event. So if you're interested in coming to watch Luca and many others directors short documentaries, you can come by to the Multicultural Center today at starting at 6:30. I would recommend getting here early because it's a free event, and we've been getting a lot of people, so we're expecting quite a bit of people to show up. But it's a free event, so come by, and I recommend coming early. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Usually what we do on the show is before we dive in and get into talking about whatever topic we're talking about, we do have an icebreaker question, which I really like because we kind of like get uncomfortable. But I'm going to ask, what is your favorite food? Just because I know you've been living in different places, so.
My favorite, well, it's a
plate, maybe that would be better.
Oh my God.
Favorite dish?
Favorite dish.
Favorite dish.
It's probably Parmigiana.
Oh.
You know what it is?
I'm going to get hungry.
It's like a lasagna with eggplant. It's vegetarian.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Oh, wow.
I've recently gotten on the putting eggplant on pasta. It's such a game changer. It's so good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And you can put all sorts of spices right to your pasta to make it. It helps complicate the flavoring of the pasta more, the eggplant.
Sure, but I also love ceviche.
Ceviche.
Really too. I have to say, also sticking with some Mexican type food, I like cochinita. Have you ever had cochinita?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
Have you heard of cochinita?
No, actually, no. And I've been in Mexico traveling with my van. I never heard. What is it?
It's it's a dish from Yucatan, Mexico. So from the south. Because I'm from the south. And my mom makes it. I mean, she's the one who taught it to me, and it's basically like a marinated pork. But it goes with it's marinated with orange juice and a bunch of peppers and spices, and it's just super good. It's really tender. She makes it in the oven, and it just kind of tenderizes the meal. And we use the banana leaves, and we cover the pork in the banana leaves. It's super.
Oh, really?
Good.
I don't think I've actually tried that either.
And we make it. It's really good. Try it. Cochinita's really good. And what I do is we make them to small little tacos, and we put habanero, cebolla.
Oh, really?
Wow.
And it's super good.
Wow.
You should invite us next time.
I'll invite you guys next time.
Agreed.
But yeah, it's super good. That's definitely my favorite dish to have.
Okay.
Childhood favorite and still a favorite for me.
Oh, wow, look at that. Well, I'm going to go with kind of what Luca mentioned. You reminded me of ceviche. I tried Peruvian ceviche recently, a couple months back. And I like sour things, and the way they cook their ceviche is very different from the traditional ceviche that I know. So I've been really enjoying that dish. So, anyways, enough about food. Although we could talk a lot about it. We're gonna get started, and you kind of mentioned it when you did your introduction, but I wanted to learn more a little bit about your backstory. Where you're from, and yeah, just kind of your story, so the audience knows you a little bit more.
Sure. Okay. So I'm 35 years old, and I grew up in a small village in the mountains of northern Italy, in a village of 5,000 people, where my mom was the first foreigner ever seen. It was 1986. She got married with my dad, who's Italian, and they met in Ecuador while he was doing some volunteering job. And then they decided to move back in Italy. So my mom, she used to be a preschool teacher, and she's a librarian right now. She has like 6 years before retirement, and she still lives there. My backstory, yeah. So I grew up in this small village, very conservative, and I was very angry to the world. I was a rebel. I was a punk rocker. I'm still a punk rocker. And I played in a ska punk band when I was 18 years old. And then when I had the opportunity to go, I left my village and I went to England because I wanted to learn English, be independent. And yeah, suddenly after working in a warehouse for 2 years in England, be treated like a dog, I thought, wow, what am I doing here? It's cloudy, rainy, people, they're not smiling, they're just getting drunk on Friday night. That's exactly what happened in my small village. Probably I should do something more of my life.
It was kind of hard to kind of like move, like you had to but like push yourself to kind of get out of that village, because it seems like everyone there was kind of just in their, like, doing their daily routine, and they already kind of had a daily routine going on that you weren't really like.
No,
right.
Maybe because my I got a younger brother, so I could speak for him as well. So we felt a little bit more like, most of the people. It's a very rich valley where we come from, and so most of the people, like my like fellow students, they have like the father's job, and they kept continuing doing what their father were doing, and
I see what you mean.
they would stay there, and not many of us went to university, or they moved from there because it was pretty wealthy and they didn't have any.
It's comfortable.
They were very comfortable. For us, it was a little different. We have like some economic problems, so we always had to just work, and basically I wanted something more of my life, and that's why I just left. Also, I was like rebel, as I told you. So, and then once in England, I met this girl at work, and she said, "I'm starting this course at university. It's called Film Studies in Canterbury." And I said, "Wow, film studies, never heard. What do you do?" We watch films, we analyze films. There are also like photography classes. And I thought, wow, you do that at university? I never knew that. Like, nobody told me. And so I got interested in the subject because I was into photography. Even if I didn't have a camera, but I have like a small phone, and I was still snapping pictures with my phone, like random pictures. And after, let's say, a year, I decided to start like a university, like do a BA and then a master in cinema in Bologna, which is in the center of Italy, very far away from my conservative town, and completely opposite, very progressive student town. It would be the Berkeley of Italy.
Oh, wow.
And I had the best time of my life, my golden years in Bologna. And if you go to Italy, go to Bologna. If you're in your 20s, go to Bologna. You have party time, quality time, people hugs and smile and get drunk in the square. And it's cool.
Awesome. Well, kind of going back to what you're talking about, your childhood, so you're saying, so your mom was Ecuadorian and your dad is Italian. So did you grow up learning both languages?
Let's say, my mom, she taught me Spanish. She was speaking to me in Spanish for probably the first 5 years of my life, and then now we're talking in Italian. But we wanted. She has 6 brothers, so
wow.
2 of them they're in New York, one is in Sweden, and the other is they're in Ecuador. So we try to see them. They're I feel they're like my family, so they're very my family, even if we are far away. So we just wanted to just be in touch, and we had to speak Spanish to be more close.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. And so, was your kind of like your interest in film came from that girl telling you about her film studies background, or had you always kind of been kind of like curious about film or creating like documentaries or film when you were growing up?
No, documentary it came later on.
Came later. Oh,
It started with
interesting.
photography. Photography for sure. I was into pictures even when I was a kid. And then I was interested in cinema in general for 3 years. I remember the first. It was fundamental for my like my decisions, later decision. The first class that I had at university, it was a photography class. And the professor, he was an illuminated guy, he was a bright guy. And he said, you can study, there are 2 books to study, and then you read another book, or you do like a project, a photography project. And so this project was my first exam. It really made me think about storytelling. And the title of this project was Story of My Modern Cow and the Unaware People. So it was basically a cow. It's like a farmer goes to see his favorite cow, and the cow is not there anymore. But he finds a rope, and he starts pulling the rope, and he pulls the rope. Is in the top of the mountains where I grew up, and he finds out that the cow it just left, and he went to the city. And so this guy keeps throwing the rope, and at the end of this journey, he's discovering the journey is all. He's following his car by the rope, and at the end, he found out that the cow went to the city and came back, and he just passed away in a cemetery. But the guy, he just for the first time was just traveling through the rope and the cow.
Wow. Yeah, I was really curious to hear your transition from photography to filming. But you kind of mentioned a little bit about that, which me who likes photography, I also had similar transition from going to film. But I do want to touch on a little bit of like maybe challenges you faced as someone who's did your family go to college? Or were you the first one?
Oh no, my mom, she studied university pedagogy. Pedagogy. I always not mispronouncing.
I don't even know what that is.
Where's that?
If you study, like you stay with pedagogy is like studying with kids. Like
okay.
anyway,
Okay.
So she studied like to be a preschool teacher, let's say.
How was your experience with like going to school and learning, photography and just photography, or you also learned film?
And no, at university.
Yeah.
University. There was mostly we learn about theory. Just all about theory.
Oh, so more theory.
It's not practical.
Oh,
so
okay.
But that exam in particular was practical.
Okay.
And it sparked something in my mind, just to say, oh wow, I can be creative, I can tell a story, I can do experimental photography, I can tell a story, this modern cow.
Oh wow.
And so I continued that, and then one of my auntie gave me like a small reflex camera, the first camera, a Nikon, and from there I could snap more pictures and I could record videos too. So what happened during my university time, I had to pay my university. It's very cheap in Italy. It's not like here, so it's very affordable. But I had to work, and I was working in a nursing house. I've been a caregiver for 4 years. And one day I was traveling with this ambulance because we were bringing the senior people back home. Yeah. And the driver, she's Italian, and she stopped by next to the dumpster, and she started talking with a guy in a Romanian language. He was like a Romani guy, and I thought, Cristina, how is it possible that you speak Romani? Like Romani language is very close to Italian somehow, because it comes from the same roots, Latin and and so on. And so I thought, well, how do nobody knows the Romanian. If you're not born there, you just useless language to know.
Yeah, I've heard some Romanian music.
Oh
Like, there's a
yeah,
lot of,
Balkan music.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing
I've
music.
heard a lot of Romanian music, but I've never really, knew much about Romania.
So I asked
Yeah.
her, how do you know Romanian? Like, and you're not Romanian, right? No. Every summer I go in this small village in Romania. There is this priest, Orthodox priest, and he takes care of these like orphans, and he teach them how to harvest and how to make cheese. And they live on the top of the mountain in Romania. And I've been going there for 5 years, and I learned Romanian language.
Wow.
And I said, wow, that's a kind of interesting story. Can I come with you? So I said, can I come and maybe I can snap some picture, maybe make a small short. It seems like a very interesting situation there. And so she said, yeah, sure, we can buy the flight ticket for you. And I said, yeah, but only one way, because I'm going to hitchhike on the way back.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what I did. I went there. I met these guys. They were very interesting guys because they have like crazy stories to tell. Because they were in an orphanage in Romania, and most of them were Romani, Zigani, so the so-called gypsies, let's say. So it was very interesting to know that they were dreaming a better future somehow. So this priest was helping them out. I visited like very interesting villages where there's no electricity, and you live by the sunlight. So you wake up in the morning when the sun rises, and you go to bed when the sun goes down. And it seems so awkward, but it was
Very kind of traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was where your first short came in, right? Oh, wow. I love to hear the story of how that short became to be. Is that where the documentary sparked? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly that.
nice.
Yeah. That was it.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
that's kind of like, where we're at right now too, is like, it's kind of like when you meet so many different people in your life, and there's some people that have just stories that they want to tell, but they don't know like exactly how they want to tell the story. But then, I hear that a lot from other people. I'm like, I see people all around me that I feel like, oh, that would make a great documentary. Or even talking about like, that's the beautiful thing about documentary filmmaking, I think, is that there are so many different ways you can do it, right? And so many, like, literally the world's your oyster, right? You can like literally find any type of subject, any type of topic or idea you want, and you can just do it. So that's awesome that it all happened really naturally with you. And how long was the filming process for your first doc? Like, how long did it take?
So the journey, I probably spent 2 weeks in Romania, stay there, and then I hitchhike back to Italy. And so after that, I knew a little bit about shooting. I was pretty good on photography, but not shooting. So I practiced there, let's say, with this short.
Yeah.
And then I paid a friend of mine who was good on editing, and he showed me how he was. I probably gave him like $50, and I was going to his house and just looking at him while he was editing some stuff, and I thought, wow, okay. And then I started watching tutorials on YouTube, and then that's how I wanted to edit my film. I wanted to learn because it was a very creative process. So I might add also that documentary films right now, they're living a very healthy life in this moment. So you can be very creative with documentaries nowadays. Big plus is for technology, because with such a small camera, you can enter in someone else's life, and you can be very intimate, and you can do a lot of experiment, and it's affordable, and it could look good as well. It's not expensive. You can reach like such a nice high quality videos, and also super powerful with low budget, and so everybody can do it.
That's such a great statement, because I agree the same way with music as well. Anyone can go out there and record music right now. Like, you don't have to go to an expensive studio to go, record your first song or something. Like, there's so much free software online now, as well as, getting like all the audio equipment. You can do it at a reasonable price. All you really need is a couple like 2 microphones, your voice, and the software, and you're kind of good to go from there. Same with video, is like, as long as you have a good You can even shoot with your phone. A lot of these iPhones reproduce really, really good camera quality now, or even like these new Samsung phones. The phones are always changing and always getting cheaper, and the cameras are always like a big focus. So, thank you for mentioning that.
No
Like,
worries.
it really doesn't take a whole lot of money, and I think that's just kind of becoming more and more of a thing now. Like you're saying, it's a really healthy time that we're doing this because there's so many people out there who want to tell the stories, and they shouldn't be limited by their funds. They shouldn't be limited by that. Like as long as they can have their cameras. We know other filmmakers in our area who started making movies with their iPhones just
Sure.
to even get experience and understand framing, like all of that. Once you get the fundamentals, then you can start using all the bigger cameras. Start getting a bit more budget, and it
Absolutely.
keeps evolving from there.
Maybe we can also say that if you want to make, if you want, you're starting now and you have like a small reflex, you can spend $300, $150. You have a reflex.
Yeah.
You can just buy analog lenses and make like an adapting rings, and if you learn how to focus manually, like everything, do it manually, like the old days. It's quite something. It's gonna be, it can be a game changer because these analog lenses, there are some of them that are pretty affordable, and and the professional cameras, like the one they use in Hollywood, you need a focus puller guy. So they work exactly in the same way. So if you wanna try and you don't have much money, invest in analog lenses and give a second life, because you're gonna learn a lot of stuff, like doing an analog, keeping just focusing, or using the focus pulling.
Yeah. Totally. Good point.
Yeah, thank you so much. I agree with both of you. I wanted to go back a little bit with kind of your journey, because your first short was shot in Romania, and then that transitioned into it being entered in a festival, correct?
Yes.
And then entering into School of Cinema, correct?
Yeah.
I wanted to hear a little bit of that, about that journey, because often a lot of people, when we start talking about your short documentary that's being featured here at MCM, a lot of people might think, oh, they just land and it's their first time. But you have a story transitioning from photography to a short film in Romania, and then being selected, and then you going to cinematography school. Is that correct?
It's the National School of Cinema of Italy. It's called
Okay.
Experimental Center of Cinematography.
Okay.
It's pretty big school. I mean, one of the most ancient school in the world, together with Moscow. There isn't one in Moscow as well. So it's very selective and difficult to get in.
Did they select you to be a part of that because of your short, or how? Oh, really?
Yeah,
So that
because
help.
that's because of my shirt, and not only. So you had like three phases of selection, and we were 12 at the end of the selection, and then they want to see you in phase. So they watch the film again, and there are like producer, directors, people who work in the film, in the industry, and they're like saying, okay, we watched your short. What did you want to do with it? Like, what was your intention? Why did you do it? And so they ask a bunch of crazy questions as well. If you want, I can share with you. One of the guy, I didn't know any of these guys, and they're pretty famous guys, and I found out later. He asked me, so if you're filming a homeless guy, would you help him to find like a shelter? And I said, okay.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no, I mean, because the homeless people that I knew, they were like, they wanted to be homeless. They didn't want to have a shelter. They want to be free and independent. I said, no, that's not my job. If I'm making a film about a homeless guy, I was like, I want to stay with him. I'm not a social worker in that case.
Right.
And then another one, the most weird was, if you find out throughout the movie shooting that your character is a pedophile, what would you do? And I said, what?
Oh, wow.
Well, but it's true. Like you're a criminal, right? Yeah.
And
halfway through.
and I said, oh my God, no. I was working with migrant disabled kids at the time, and I was like, no way. If he's a pedophile, I would probably punch him in the face. So no, I would stop. Like I would be like destroyed. No,
Yeah,
that's
that
nothing.
would ruin the shoot.
Yeah, that was finished. That's the end of it. It's just I'm gonna sue him. It's like, no, I mean, it's gonna be bad, like very bad. And then at the end of the interview, I went to this guy. I said, but you asked me this guy is a director. He asked me this question, and I didn't really get what would you answer to that?
Yeah.
And he said, if you're gonna be selected, we'll let you know. That's okay.
Okay.
And then he answered me, showing us to the classroom like months later. And this film is American film. It's called Capturing the Freedman, which I strongly recommend to watch to all of you.
Capturing the Freedman. Okay.
And it is about just pedophiles connected, but it is kind of interesting. It is interesting and heartbreaking as well, of course. But he answered with this film.
Oh wow, interesting. But that's very tough questions. I guess because you're filming and you're doing a project, and then that not to lose that human part, I think is what's very tricky. But I the reason why I asked is because you mentioned you were in school for photography, and how did that differ from here? Did that lead to you continuing to create more shorts, or in documentary, or how did that process work?
So the national school where I was at, it was for 3 years program. It was from 9 to 6, 5 days a week, and with 15% of absence. So it was mandatory to be there, like another 3 years of high school. So it was like very intense course, like, let's say. And it was also pretty hard for me because I have to pay for it. And I said, if I'm here, I cannot work when I work in the weekend because I need to pay my bills and the school as well. It was $2,400. It was not that bad, but still, I need to provide for my living.
Yeah.
So I told him immediately, I'm glad I'm in, but I need to work. So we need to find, I will have to work. There's no other way around. I mean, I don't have other opportunities. I mean, I don't have any money. And so every year for going to the next year, you have to do a short or a feature film, documentary film every year to pass, let's say.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice though, because it forces you to actually do what you're being taught.
Yeah, and so every day we were talking about films. We had the gears, of course. We had all the gears we could use. We could go out. We meet DPs, director of photography, and other producers and distributors, and they were like saying, we do that. That's our job. They were coming doing a masterclass for a week, and then they just went back to their job. So it was very, we enter in vivid, like we knew what was going on in the industry of documentaries, and for 3 years I was fully immersed in this school, and I'm glad I learned everything that I know in this school.
Wow, that's awesome. So you have when I was doing a little bit of research and trying to learn more about you, I noticed that you had a lot of documentaries that you've done before, and which is perfect because I do want to transition a little bit into what inspired you to create the documentary that is being featured today, Small Steps, Big Future. And when we got to watch it ahead of time, and it was really cool for me to see a lot of like places I knew because it's based in in San Francisco. But I want to hear from you what inspired to start this documentary.
And you can be a spoiler as you want. So again, for everyone listening, there's going to be spoilers in this.
In case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been working on my first feature-length documentary for almost 2 years, and I was kind of stuck last year because bad events happened to one of my characters. So I was like, oh my God, what should I do? He died eventually. So that's the spoiler alert for the other film. And so I said, okay, apply for grants. It's going to be like, what I'm going to do? One of my characters died. That's the worst that can happen to your film. So I was like, oh my God. And I also found the body. So it was like bad.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So in the meanwhile,
how far were you into shooting that?
Oh, he shot everything.
Oh, wow.
It was already done, let's say, and I needed just money for editing and post-production. So while I'm at home working in my little one-bedroom apartment, I turn on the radio and I'm listening to KQED, and I heard Corey's story, so the preschool teacher.
Yeah.
And I thought she's Mexican, and she has this bilingual preschool in San Francisco, and her story really resonated in me because I thought about my mom, that she was in preschool and would have like a very different life if she was here in San Francisco, and she could have opened with this so easily, let's say, preschool and just run her own business. And I thought, wow, that's a very inspiring story. I should just reach out to her. And so I did. I sent her an email. She was very skeptical. She met me and she said, "Wow, well, okay, but who are you? What do you want? How are you gonna make money out of it?" I said, "No, there's no money involved. I heard your story on the radio and I thought it's so inspiring.
That's awesome.
That's just." Can I just come over and just meet the kids, meet the parents? I would like to shoot. There is something that's coming up. Can you tell me more? So we spent like sending some emails, some calls, and then I met the parents because I had to meet the parents. You know,
You're gonna be filming their kids.
I'm gonna film those kids, and they wanted to know what and why and what's going on, and explain them. I showed my shorts, like the previous short. And so they found out that I work basically on like human rights subjects. So they said, "Oh, okay." And I told them also that it was a very uplifting story, and I really need like a happy, bright stories after
what you were going through.
Yeah, after this long the film that is coming up now. So I thought it was a very nice transition between like darkness and kids and enlightenment.
Good to get yourself into a different headspace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding like documentary, connected with, you kind of shared a little bit, but how do you approach the research process of, doing a documentary? Because from what I hear is you had questions of parents and even the main...
Corey, the teacher.
Of like, what are you doing and what's your process normally when you're doing a documentary?
So do you mean when...
Like what kind of questions do you ask them?
Yeah, like how do you approach that research process? Because do you do research on that, or do you just go like you throw yourself in the water and be like whatever comes, or do you have a creative process? I think it's something because documentary and like when you're doing a film,
like a movie,
it's very different. It has a very different tone to it versus a documentary. I guess from my own curiosity, like how do you do that?
Sure. I guess I believe in synchronicity. So if I'm looking for something, if you're thinking, like strongly thinking, it's gonna come up. It's gonna come to you somehow. So I was thinking about like my next film. Maybe I should just film some kids. I would love to. And then I turned on the radio and I heard the story, and I was just already
everything kind of lined up.
Yeah. So I'm not like a Christian. No, I don't believe in God. I'm spiritual, like everybody else would say the same. I'm spiritual. It seems like so very indie rock. But I believe in synchronicity for sure. That's something. If you're looking for this story, the story will come up. And yeah, the process, it could be from many sources. It could be I read an article. I like articles and I like newspapers. So if I read something interesting, I say, "Wow, that's a great story. I should just reach out." Or if I go out in the pod, like I just go whatever I want and just talk with people. I'm a very sociable guy, so I'm like, "Oh, how are you doing? What's up? What's going on? What is the homeless?" I talk with the homeless. I talk with the high tech guy, and I'm very curious. So my curiosity, I guess, I'm a very curious person.
So with creating, sorry, go ahead.
I just realized we were like talking and diving in. We didn't really give a backstory of what your film is about, Small Steps and Big Future. Do you want to just give like a short, of what it is? Because I just realized we're talking.
We're already heading into
It's about a bilingual preschool in San Francisco, and they speak Spanish and English. That's it.
Just about. And have you worked with kids before? Because in your film, you're working with kids. How is that?
Yeah.
How was that for you?
I was also a preschool teacher to escape my dad's job. He wanted to work with him, and I hated it. I didn't want to do the move out or work with furniture. So for 2 summers in a row, when I was 15, 16 years old, I was in like a summer camp with kids. And then when I moved in England, I didn't tell you, but I moved as an au pair. Au pair is like a nanny. I was the nanny, and they said this is the first time in history, the project that there is a man who wants to go be a nanny. And I said, okay, is he okay? Okay, yeah.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that because so I really connected with your documentary because my mom takes care of kids. She's a nanny, and she's been a nanny for a really long time. So she stays with long term with a lot of these families here in Marin, and so many of the families here in Marin, because in Marin County, it's a very white dominated county, so. But we also have a huge Hispanic community as well. So a lot of these families, they want bilingual nannies because they want their kids to know both English
Spanish.
and Spanish. Exactly. So my mom, teaches these kids English and Spanish, and it's just awesome because like they know so many like little phrases and stuff. And you see this in the documentary that you do. Like these kids, like just to say this, I love the scene where I forget, one of the kids I think accidentally pushed one of the little girls, and the little girls was like, "Oh, he hurt me," like I'm sorry. And then she's like, but Corey, also shout out to Corey. She's such a great teacher. Like you really capture the essence of how sweet she is with the kids and understanding, right? Yes. Where the kids, because they're kids, you know what I mean? They don't know any better. But that scene in particular was awesome because one, it showed how good Corey is at like just kind of fixing like an issue that's going on between the kids, and also showing how she's teaching Spanish with that. So like there is it was a little white kid, and then the little Latina girl who fell, and the white kid goes up to her and it's like, "Oh, sana sana colita de rana," or something.
Oh, that was so cute.
It was so cute, but it's
Yeah.
like, but then they like came to a consensus, and it was just such a sweet moment. I'm just impressed you captured that.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad that you liked it, because when it happened, all my research, all the meaning, everything that I've been doing so far, because of that moment that I was experiencing, it was just everything was there. Everything was there. So in one frame, I had like all the meaning of why I'm doing that, because there is Spanish teacher, Roman, and it is taking perfect combo, like Spanish, and then something happened, and they're just doing this small gesture, but this is such a small gesture. There is like all the universe. It's like the society I'm dreaming about. So that's my revenge.
Oh, wow.
That's my revenge for what it didn't happen and is not happening yet in Italy, in my village. So it's like, wow, look at that, kids. How we need to learn from kids.
Yeah, because kids, and then there's also the scene where it almost made me cry. Was a scene where all the kids were writing, the letters to the kids in Israel and Palestine right now, and both sides. I thought that was wonderful. How you implemented that too into the film, and being able to like teach the kids of what's going on in the world right now, because kids need to know. I mean, kids aren't dumb.
Exactly.
Okay?
Kids know.
Kids are not dumb, and they know that something's going on.
Yeah, documentaries usually have tackle like really heavy, controversial subjects, and one of them is when we talk about war or when we talk about like complex things. There's the humanity side where it's not okay, but there is that side where people choose a side. And when I was watching your short, I really liked that part where it wasn't choosing a side. You really portrayed that part with what they were doing, and it was more of like, this is the reality, and it was them writing a letter not to just one side, but it was to both sides, and I found that part really important, because one thing we do as humans is we want to choose a side, and your film really just showed more about like, what if you didn't?
Okay, may I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there are, let's say, we can categorize a documentary into different types. So there is like a vertical documentary and horizontal documentary. What I like to do most is horizontal. I want to be on the level, and so.
Can you explain that, the vertical?
Sure. So Michael Moore. Michael Moore, he does.
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. What has he done?
Super.
Fahrenheit 9/11, Bullying Columbine.
Oh, okay.
He's a big, like a white guy.
He's a big
He's
dude.
a big dude.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar too for a documentary for Bullying Columbine, I guess. Anyway, so he does. It's very interesting documentary. I don't want to discredit, but he has a thesis. So let's start from that. So you have an idea. You know that something is wrong in society or in your life or whatever. So you have an idea, and you're gonna express it vertically. So you are like a God, and you're like saying blah 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 blah. So you got your thesis. So because I'm humble. I don't know the answer or on anything. Like I just the feature length documentary I'm doing is about homeless people in California. I mean, I'm the last guy who is entitled to explain what's wrong with it. I just observe, and I don't want to say what's the solution. I mean, it's probably already, you watch it and you decide. I want to, because I think I'm showing films to people who are ready to take their side or decide what is wrong or what is right or whatever, but I'm not going to be the one who's telling them what to do, because I'm nobody. I'm just a filmmaker. So, and that's why I'm saying I'm horizontal. I want to be on the level and with the community. I bond with the community. I go slow. I don't like a lot of talking heads. I just stay with them. And as we were mentioning this morning to the classes, we were like, maybe I spend 90% and I shoot 10% of my time. And so when you watch it, you can feel this immersive experience of like you're there and I'm invisible, and I think that's when cinema happened.
Yeah. I mean, that was really well said. I think I understand what you're saying. It's just that like you're just filming. You're just capturing the moment of what's going on. It's not like you're not doing anything on purpose, right? You're just filming exactly what's going on in front of you, and that's creating the story that you're creating with the documentary. It all kind of comes in naturally. If that's kind of what I understood. That
Yeah. Creatively, let's say, because you can decide, should I put this scene at the beginning of the film, and then how do I start? I start with this, and what after this scene? Maybe it's good to have kids around the city. Maybe you have all this consideration during the editing process.
Yeah.
We could.
In this film, do you still edit your own work, or do you have support?
I have support, but not for editing right now. And I wish I had more. I'm very picky. So camera work, because I really like to do the camera work. I know some DPs, very good DPs, but they were very expensive and I didn't have budget when I was filming, so I filmed it. And editing is the same. I know many editors, they don't do what I do, so they don't do observational. So if to do this creative observation documentary, I just need someone who's used to do it. Like you have, because otherwise it's like there are good editors, but are used to like talking heads, B-rolls, talking heads, B-roll, and that's like okay, I do something different. So I got
especially because it's a shorter documentary too, so you kind of have less time to work with. You can't really go for a long, because I feel like that's a bit more common probably in a long documentary. But since it's a short documentary, it can be even more creative with it because of the time you're given, right?
Yeah.
So
I work as an editor as well. It's myself, and I work with my brother. My brother is a sound engineer and a musician, a composer. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I really liked your a lot of shots in the documentary that I really liked. I think one of my favorites again would be with Javier when the little kids had that incident of like, I just imagine myself being in that and capturing that, and how you shot in. There was 2 angles to it, and how that was. I was thinking in my head, like, how would I do that? Which brings me to a question. When you're filming documentaries, you're kind of in their space. How do you not be in their space? Meaning, like, are you?
How do the kids not like complete? I know there's probably a couple of shots where the kids look into the camera, but at the same time, like,
how do you be invisible?
How do you be invisible with the kids?
Or are you not invisible? Are you more interactive, or how does that work?
To the kids.
At the beginning, I'm just, hi, I'm Luca. What do you do? So I'm pretty good with kids in general. So I probably because I got a Peter Pan syndrome, I guess. So I can bond with kids.
Yeah.
And then I wanted also, the position of the director, let's say in this film, is like I'm in this position. So I'm 5 feet high because I'm a kid. And so I wanted their point of view. It's very low.
That makes sense.
If you think about the short, it's like very low. I wanted to be on their side.
Well, that explains when they were doing the Brazilian.
The capoeira.
Yeah, it was very. angled to the...
Almost everything. I always
I
stay.
didn't even notice that. Oh,
Yeah.
That's
I didn't
why-
make that connection. My bad. I noticed it, but I didn't
So
make the
that's
connection.
why I'm telling you that I'm trying to be horizontal, and this time it was horizontal but low horizontal because it was like kid point of view.
Yeah.
And what I do, I don't film a lot. I just spend a lot of time and I'm ready to film. I had a gimbal in this case, and so she fell, and okay, I was there ready to record. Corey arrived, and I was already there. I was set, and I said, "Don't worry, Adeya, now it's coming. Don't worry, don't worry." Then she comes, and then I just shut up.
Just let it
And
all
then,
naturally.
because she had to take care of the kid, and I knew that I was nothing major, so it was like a scratch, and that was okay. It was all good. And then she called Roman. When she started calling Roman, I just move and let's see where Roman is. Let's follow Roman when he's coming in. So I followed Roman coming from the back, and then he started hugging her. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I need to go on the other side now. So I stay with a little bit with Roman, and then I move on the other side, and I had 3 of them in front of me, and I just stay there. That's what was my position. So it's all about where you need to stand. But these are kind of like classical rules for cinema. You know, there are some basics that you have, like 2 people talking, and you just move 180 degrees from one to one, and the guy is looking from this side.
Oh
It's-
yeah,
it's
like
good
the
to have
shots.
the other
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I follow these rules.
Like film theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally mean it. So one thing I wanted to ask too was how long did this documentary actually? How long did it take to shoot? Like how long was that time period for? Or when did you start shooting? Last year? Was it-
Last year, yeah, mostly November, I guess.
Oh wow! So you made this pretty fast. All things
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah.
If you started shooting in November.
Yes, it was a Halloween. There are some skeletons. Have you seen the skeletons?
Oh, that's right. There were little skeletons inside of the daycare at the time.
And then
Yeah.
Palestine and Israel, happened last year.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
just
okay, that makes
happened.
sense. I mean, it's still going on.
Timeline wise, yeah. Timeline wise.
But I got in touch with Corey last year in March.
Oh, okay. So it started earlier in the year of last year in 2023, and then you went from that's a transition. That's a timeline, but like, props to you for basically getting that all done in less than a year.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is at least one short a year. Otherwise, I feel old.
And so part of creating, films and the budgeting part, your time, how do you manage that? Are you full-time filming, or are you working and doing your project at the same time? How does that work?
Okay, right now it's been 1 year and a half that I'm an independent filmmaker. Finally, I do different gigs, but I'm a contractor, so they call me if they need a camera operator. And I have this stable gig in a church where I live stream the mass, and I've been doing it for more than a year. And then sometimes I do concerts. When I'm very broke, I do weddings.
Hey, dude, but weddings get you money. Weddings get you money.
That's why we go there.
And then, I won some grants for the film. And so I got, that part is covered, let's say.
So speaking about grants, I kind of want to touch on just any filmmakers who are hearing this interview right now. For them, let's say that they want to start doing their own documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where can they find these types of like grants or ways that they can get money to help fund their films? Any off the top of your head, if you know any recommendations or
Film institutes, foundations.
So just looking for ones around
There are
California.
Yeah, there are open. So I would, if they want to make documentary, just go and check on IDA. IDA website is like International Documentary Association, and there are listed all the grants. It's just everything is there if you want to check it out. But you need to have your mind very clear of what you want to do, because otherwise you're not going to get any of them, because you need to know what's the story about, why it's important now, why you, and the creative approach, and how you're going to reach people. So you need to check all the boxes, and that takes time and knowledge, and is a production work, let's say.
Yeah.
But I wanted to learn that too, because I wanted to produce my films. So.
Yeah, I hear you.
I want to hear from you from filming this specific documentary. Is there anything that you learned or like stood out to you while you were filming this?
Yeah, I learned about the resolution box. Everybody should have a resolution box.
Oh, that's right.
Can you explain the resolution box?
So Miss Corey, she says, in the Mediterranean right now, in Europe in Europe there are some conflicts. Explain to the kids, and she says, conflicts. It means that two people, they don't get along very well. But what we do here in San Francisco when we have conflict, we write it down and we put in our resolution box because we want to find a solution, and so we write down a solution, we put in a resolution box. And so they said, and probably that's what's not happening in Palestine and Israel, because they don't have a resolution box.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something that I took as well. That part was a really moment for myself as well, because that part that was put in there, it's like, oh, many of us don't have that. And we need it in our own lives as well. We have a lot of problems, and if we don't have a resolution box, we're going to stay in the same place. And
one thing I did want to touch on again from your documentary was that it's just so, it goes also to show and highlight how important it is to teach kids about different cultures. Because again, it's beautiful how they were learning about capoeira. They were talking. Even Corey did a little traditional Mexican little dance, and then she had all the girls like wear the skirts and everything, and that was just so adorable. Like baile folclórico, like stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like it's just awesome when I get to see kids, because I don't know. I'll be honest. I think with this generation that's coming up, like Gen Alpha. I feel like a lot of them are losing touch with their culture, especially a lot of the ones born. Well, a lot of the coming from a Latino perspective, seeing a lot of Latino people that are growing up now. I'm seeing a lot of them just don't speak Spanish anymore. Don't really connect with their background anymore. Don't really like their foods and stuff. They just really grown into American culture, and it's just also a product of them just being not first generation anymore. There's just a lot less first generation that I've at least here in Marin County from what I've seen in the Bay Area, and that's why I personally really like connecting with the newcomers that come into this country, because I like to hear what their perspective is right now on how do they feel America is. And I don't know, that's just kind of my background. But again, like that's what my mom, again, when I've helped her, when I was growing up, I helped my mom take care of some of the kids she was taking care of, and it was just cool, like being able to teach these kids, like, hey, like this is ceviche, or this is enchiladas, and this is where they all come from. They all come from this part of Mexico. Or they come, like teaching them kind of small things like that, because it stays with them. And
yeah, I agree with you. I think something that I'm really against is really putting like American culture, because when I think of American culture, I really think of it being very diverse. Because I think, when we come here, there's Guatemalan culture, Mexican culture, Italian culture. I think that's what America is. It's a blend, really. And so when I see younger kids learning from all different types of things, it makes me really happy. Especially having a younger sibling, I realize that we teach him a lot of, our Guatemalan culture. But, there are other things that he likes. I have two younger brothers, and one of them really likes like Asian culture, and he likes to explore that here. And so I've learned that being in America specifically, that there isn't one culture that dominates. There is, but there shouldn't be like it's just American culture, because what I've learned is American culture is a blend of everything.
Right.
Because there's not just one type of people here. And so watching the kids learn Brazil, the Brazilian culture and then the Mexican culture, it really brings me back to this is home. This is what home looks like,
Thank you. Yes, exactly what I feel about America. That's a very good point for being here and see like, what the American people would do without the Latinos. They would be just sinking in the ocean, I guess.
And you can see that there's a need in American people that actually want their kids to learn both English and Spanish,
Absolutely.
Especially here in California, where like a lot, I mean, we have a huge, I don't know if this is statistically correct, but I feel like California, maybe Texas, but California, it has a big Latino population.
Yeah,
right?
Florida.
Florida
I
as
might
well,
say,
yeah.
wow, everybody speaks Spanish more than here. At least Miami, from Miami, yeah, that part of Florida is also, wow,
Yeah.
a lot of Latinos.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful, and this story that you helped, shoot and archive here with your documentary, it's just great to see that this work is being done here in the Bay Area. And it keeps me hopeful. When I have kids, I want to teach them both English and Spanish. I don't want them to lose touch with their culture. I want them to be able to go to Mexico, go meet my cousins, my uncles, everyone. You know what I mean? I don't want them to lose touch with anything, because unfortunately, I know some friends who actually don't want to do that for their kids, and they just want to keep them here in America and just keep them American. You know what I mean? So it's just, I guess it's a person to person thing.
Sure.
But personally, for me, I definitely want my kids to grow up and learn both sides of their culture. So
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. It's very important.
What do you hope for viewers to take away from your documentary?
But what we just said probably is the most important part of what you could get from, like, thinking, oh wow, that's a society, that's a little picture of what is happening to the kids nowadays in San Francisco. Of course, we're in San Francisco, and you can see that there is a lot of them. They're very sensitive to this kind of like subject, like Latino culture, and so basically, like, having hope of a new generation, and these gonna be adults, and they're gonna be amazing adults, so they're gonna have a big future.
And
That's
why
awesome.
Small steps,
Small
big
steps,
future.
big future. Oh, that's it. We didn't even get to that. What made you name your documentary that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the ending, and I thought about the skirt, this part when they are dancing with the skirt, and I thought, wow, small steps. We were talking
I
about
see. So you're getting
the
that
small
in there.
steps.
Yeah.
They're kids. And they're gonna change the world. The world is changing. I mean, right now we're living in it seems like impossible world, like where dictatorship and like white misogynist people are ruling the world. But I got good hope, big hope for the next generation, and that's what made me hope the best, seeing these kids being together and without seeing any kind of difference between colors.
Is this your first time being featured in the Docklands?
In Docklands, yeah.
How did you get this opportunity?
I submitted to Film Freeway through a platform, and
Okay. And it kind of sends your films to different.
no,
or just this one?
I wanted to send it. I sent it to 3 festivals. So one is San Francisco Film Festival, one is Docklands, and the other was Tribeca in New York. And I got selected here, and that's how that happened.
Well, we're really honored to be able to show your film here at the
we're so
Multicultural
excited.
Center Marin, and being able to, again, hear your story, hear where you're coming from, and to the point where you're at now. It's really inspiring for me, and I hope that for our viewers too, because this is the type of stuff we want to highlight. We want to highlight people like you that are really truly passionate about this art form, and just to show people that, hey, anyone can really go out there and make a documentary, even make their own movie. You know what I mean? It's just all requires time, research, hard work, but at the same time, you're not limited by your tools, because like we said earlier, you can start off with your phone if you really, really wanted to.
With that being said, I do want to ask you, what advice would you give to anyone who is pursuing or is thinking of pursuing, this career?
I might say that you should start from yourself. So who you are, what you like, just something that you really know well. It can be your grandma, it can be your ancient roots, your passion about soccer. I don't know, whatever it is. Just start from what you think that you know, and that's a good start. But that's not. I don't want to limit like creativity in saying that, because you can explore different words and different stories even without being connected, but you can just feel empathy. And so what I would do, just have a reflex camera, analog lens, and just go there and be patient. Reality is gonna surprise you always.
And invest in good sound equipment. That too.
As well.
Invest in
Well-
good sound equipment. That's the big secret right there. No one's gonna watch a movie if your sound equipment sucks. It's true.
Well, thank you so much for both of you, especially Luca, for being here, and we're so excited for the community to be able to watch your film. With that, we're at the end of the show, and I really want to say thank you from our viewers. Just for your time. Time is the one thing that we never get back. So you being here means a lot to us. With that, we hope for anyone who can make it to join us tonight at 7 p.m. at the Multicultural Center of Marin at 709 5th Avenue, San Rafael. If not, make sure to check out the links that we've put in the live so that you guys can check out where you guys can watch Small Steps, Big Future. See y'all next time.
Take care.